once you become a fireman, it's there. I mean, some people, it deters them in bad situations. Don't get me wrong. I don't like bad situations, but it's part of the job.
It's the greatest job in the world, and it really is. I believe in that paraphrase quote I gave you. It's a gentleman named Lieutenant Bobby Athanas from Rescue 3 and FDNY. He famously made that quote, and it is the greatest job in the world. But you have to believe that.
There come some wins and there come some losses. And the wins, to me, outweighs the losses. You know, there's no greater thing when you go out and you rescue somebody or you save somebody, and you know, families up there, once you do it and once everything gets done, they come up and give you a big hug. You know, that for me is why I do it.
There's a lot of heartache, there's a lot of pride that you can take, and there's a lot of fears that you will learn about yourself. And for you coming on this job, you better be ready for it, because it's going to hit you as soon as you step in through this door.
A typical day here at the fire department, it begins immediately 7 a.m. with truck checkoffs.
It's the first part of your day to get all your trucks checked off.
When we first get here, we check off all the trucks.
And first thing you do is you check off the trucks.
You know, even though the shift before us checked the truck, every shift has to check it for that day. So you never know, something may have broke after a call that may not have realized. So we go through every piece of equipment, we start it, we check it, we fuel up the trucks, we clean the trucks if needed.
Wednesdays and Saturdays are your startup days. So anything, chainsaws, K-12s, any generators, all of that gets started up, run for a certain amount of time. You'll check the fuel in them, kind of just testing everything to make sure that anything that happens throughout the day, it's going to be ready to go. After that, you've kind of got your station duties to take care of. You'll clean, you'll go through the station, anything, whether it's sweeping the bays or taking trash out, keeping upstairs clean. Sometimes there's other duties that go on throughout the day. If you're working on a truck or maybe testing hose or testing hydrants.
And then we go on to the training schedule for the day. Usually, you know, we'll go on and train for several hours on the topic that was assigned to us.
Pumps blood to the rest of the body, right? They order travels through the rest of the body, pumps oxygenated blood, it returns through the inferior vena cava, and then you've got the amount of blood. So if you're not getting enough blood flow, then the rest of the body's not getting oxygen.
So yearly we have to get 200 fire hours. We're reaching for that for our ISO ratings. It's usually 100, but we pride ourselves on getting more training hours than most departments do. Training, it's never ending. And once you start training, that's when somebody will be hurt or somebody out in the public will fail the public when we do these. So we have certain hours that we have and certain hours that we got to meet every single year.
And everything we do in training is to make them in that ready state that when that call does come in, we can't prepare for every variable, but I can expose you to as much as I can. And it is important that one-year guy has the same experience as that 20-year guy. I say this often is there's a big difference in having 20 years of experience or having the same year 20 times. So we try to keep it vibrant and dynamic. That way that these guys can be exposed to more, because that's just going to make them more ready when they do get this call.
Popcorn. Yep. Oh yeah. Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah.
How you doing?
So we got the call for a fire alarm at the assisted living, which is on Cedar Creek. Just a general fire alarm. Upon arrival, we did a 360. There was nothing showing from outside. No smoke, no flames. We went ahead and let the Tower 1 know what was going on prior to them arriving. Once we got there, we was met with the staff that stated that someone had burnt popcorn, which is a great thing. That means that nobody's life was in danger immediately, and that we was able to contain it with just getting odor outside the room. Reset the alarm. As simple as the burnt popcorn can always turn into something dangerous. That's why the guys are ready to go on any type of call that we have.
I've been an EMT instructor for about a year, EMS instruction. So we've got an EMT class that we actually teach 5 days a week, and we try to do it on our off shift days. That way we still have personnel that cover calls, cover ambulance and fire. And we just come in and we teach for 8 hours over a specific topic, try to get these young guys to understand what they're doing on their EMT test and EMT exams, and prepare them for the workforce to be an EMT.
High flow to 15 liters per minute. There you go. Ready? 1, 2, 3. All right, temperature is... there's no temperature, we'll say like...
I'll be the first person to tell you, certified does not mean qualified. In the state of Kentucky, I know Firefighter Farron spoke about this earlier, is the IFSAC standard, right? It's the International Fire Service Accreditation Congress. It's an international standard, not a national standard. It's recognized in like 119 countries. It is further than the Kentucky Level 1 and Level 2. It is both a cognitive and a psychomotor examination for any certification you choose to partake in.
I've been a volunteer for about 5-6 months. No, we've been in the EMT class for about a month. We have 2 more months to go, and we just learn about different things, what we can and can't do, protocols. We learn CPR, so if we do go on the ambulance, if we have to use CPR, we will. But it's a fun experience. Anybody that could try it, I would do it, because it's fun just to go through it, and once it's over, you get that card and you can say officially you're an EMT.
Book learning, instructor-led or flipped classroom presentation has its place in the fire service, but where you learn to do this job is putting your hands on it and being in that environment. A lot of people come into the fire service thinking this is what they want to do, but when they get here and they see the physical demand, they see the emotional demand, they see the hours you work and the time that it takes to dedicate to this line of work, that's when they realize maybe this isn't for me. So we learn to be very comfortable in a very uncomfortable situation. And the only way I can see if you're going to be comfortable is to put you into that situation.
Go, basket. Same thing, let's go, let's go.
Yeah, so the purpose of this morning is we'll run these guys through basic hand line maintenance. One of the biggest jobs of a firefighter is you can't put the wet stuff on the red stuff if you can't get the hose line to the fire. So they're working in full PPE and SCBA in a team of two with proper communications, managing a hand line through this environment, working on some different techniques as far as contact goes, radio communication, and just the management of that hand line and proper management of the nozzle while maintaining their team integrity.
Pull it back, pull it back. You got big loop. Hey, Joe, where you at?
If I can prepare you for the worst, when it's not the worst, it's easier. So if I can take all your visibility away and I force you to get down on your belly and literally low crawl and drag a fire hose that has both weight and pressure on it and still effectively open that nozzle and show me you can move that fire hose through a building, then when you can get up on your knees or up on your feet maybe, it is way easier.
You never really feel like you settled in. You're hoping and praying that you can make those right decisions at all time. Once you feel confident and you think that you know everything in this job, that's when somebody usually gets hurt. So you're always learning, taking every training as an advantage to learn more. If you go in and you listen to the instructors, what they have to do, no matter if you got 20 plus years on or you got a year on the job, you can always learn from the job. So making sure that you listen to every training and hoping and praying, like I said, just doing the right thing, making the best decision. And once you feel comfortable, that's when things can turn south real quick.
When you quit learning, it's time to get out of it. I mean, I learn every day, even though when I go teach a class, when I teach the new recruits or I teach the EMT class, I learn something from them as much as they learn from me. So and that's what it's all about. You know, you're always training your replacement. And that's what I try to instill to the guys here. You know, I'm not going to be here forever. They're going to be here after I'm gone. You know, I got to train you and get you built up.
I mean, the helmets that you may see behind me, inside that helmet is a sticker that said, "Firefighting is ultra hazardous and extremely dangerous." Yes, we know. It's something that we have to train about. We have to learn as much as we possibly can about our job to try to help be there for each other and people that may call. I love being a firefighter because no matter what title may be on a shirt, you're still a firefighter. And that's what I wanted to do. And in the beginning, it was either firefighter or police officer. And fire got in the blood.
Get back up here for a minute.
Oh, hit foot at the fire panel.
We was at Page Hall at the U-Pipe, and they had a fire alarm. When we got there, it was just a washer had flooded, a line had busted, and flooded the control panel. Every call is different. We go on a lot of what we would call false alarms. Somebody, like I said, burnt something, and it just set off the alarm or whatever, which, in my opinion, we're here for the public, and if it's a false call and we can just be there to help whatever little bit we got to do, that's good, because I don't want to see anybody lose any kind of property or anything they've worked hard for.
You're trying to be a problem solver. I mean, that's just the way it is. I mean, any interaction that we do as far as on the fire and the EMS side, all that stuff, you're only there for a certain amount of time. So Therefore, you got to try to deal with the situation and handle it appropriately. You just got to kind of use common sense. Common sense will get you out of a lot of jams if you slow down. That's the thing about it is when all this stuff is going on, you got adrenaline pumping, you got 1,000 things going through your mind. What if I do this? What if I do that? And you just got to sit there and think about it for just a little bit, process it, and do your job.
We have experience in a very uncomfortable, ultra-hazardous, unavoidably dangerous environment. We can operate in that environment, but it's also having the confidence to know when a situation is too bad. You know, when is it time to leave? And none of us, we are an extremely aggressive department, and I talk about whether you're arbitrarily aggressive, you know, just at somebody's whim, we're aggressive because we're just firemen, we show up, we break stuff, and we go home. Or are you intellectually aggressive and you have that much training and that much knowledge and experiences, you can be as aggressive as that fire will allow you to be. I mean, because ultimately we're just in a big chemistry experiment. I say all the time, we're a jack of all trades and a master of none. We have to be a structural engineer, and we have to know fluid dynamics and building construction and all this science that is fire. Can I know that well enough to know when it's not safe for me to be there? And the main reason we exist is the preservation of someone else's life. If you have the notion in your head, you know, every little kid runs around wearing a little fire helmet or turnout gear, and, you know, I want to be a fireman one day, and that's one thing. But someone that's an adult in their life, and they've graduated high school, and they think that this is the commitment where they want their life to go, I would strongly urge them, come out and spend some time. See what this really is before you decide to commit to it. Give me the opportunity to convince you that this is the greatest job in the world.
Why did you initially want to become a firefighter?
I never. I just happened to come by the station one day to see some guys that I knew there, and the fire chief was there, and he just said, "Hey, would you like to have a job?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "If you can pass my road test and don't wreck my truck, I may consider giving you a job Monday." Well, Monday came, and next thing I knew, I had a job. And I always said I'll never stay 20 years, but 20 years later, I was still there, loving it every day. When I first started, we had, I think, 8 air packs, not enough to go around. Trucks were old and wore out, and we started in the old jail, and the old fire department was condemned, and then, you know, we moved to Chloe in 1988. The training back then was like what we call old school now. You know, we didn't have the new technology they have, the equipment they have. You know, we didn't have ambulances when somebody got sick or died. You know, we couldn't get to them the way we had to wait for an ambulance to come or a coroner to come. But now it's all set up right there. It's like they got it all. We didn't have nothing, but they got it all.
But when I first got on, the only thing we had was them old boots that you could pull up, and they only went up to here. Long coats that come down right here. It's like almost like a trench coat, but it's a fire coat. And then old plastic helmets, and then what they call now chemical gloves. It's bright orange gloves is what we wore. Yeah, and I still got my boots to this day because they didn't have none to fit me, and my mom got them for me for Christmas one year, and I still have them. You wore your turnout gear is what we turn out in, but putting that air pack on and using it, you know, back then you only had one place that filled the SCBA cylinders, and if I'm not mistaken, that was Prestonsburg City. They was the first ones around to get the compressors, and if you used them SCBA cylinders, you had to truck them all the way down there to get them filled, and we never did use them.
The old timers believe if you put one on, you were like a little girl, so nobody wore them. They were smoke eaters from way back, and here we are. If you washed your uniforms, it was bad luck.
Johnny's right. You'll be called to see if you put an air mask on back in the day, and all that takes too much time. You don't need to waste that extra minute. Get on in there, and you would just go. And of course, back then, nobody thought anything about that smoke causing cancer. It's wood burning and paper and whatever. You didn't think much about your furniture. What's that couch made out of? What's that mattress made out of? We just didn't worry too much about it. We just wanted to get in there and get out the firefighting. We just didn't take the time. Crazy today. We would never do that today. Not very smart, know what we know today. And as quick and as easy as the stuff is to put on today, it's a lot different than what it was back then.
It's an argumentative question we ask a lot in various classes is, are we safer today than we were 20 or 30 years ago? And a lot of the old-time firefighters will tell you that these were your thermometers. Is when your ears started getting hot, it was time to leave. Well, now you wear a protective hood. Just the upgrades and adaptation in the adaptation in equipment has been tremendous even in my last 20 years.
The turnout gear, where they're making the turnout gear now, we're going deeper and deeper inside these structures and stuff because we're not feeling the heat as quick as we did when we just had the old coats and the hip waders boots. We're going deeper in there, and they're making this turnout gear so good that you're actually not feeling it. You're not knowing you're in trouble until you are in trouble. You've got to pay attention to the signs of everything, and that's a lot of the chemistry and a lot of the signs, and actually reading the fire, trying to read the fire and reading the smoke and the heat and all that stuff, because they're just making it so good now that it's, we're going deeper and deeper in these structures. It's a lot different than what we went through. What when I first come up, what type of equipment we had. We had good equipment, don't get me wrong, but the technology of the equipment, it just keeps advancing and advancing and advancing. And you got to stay on top of that.
End of the day, you're talking about wet stuff on red stuff, right? Can you put the water on the fire? And it was that badge of honor for those old time guys to not wear their breathing apparatus if they had. A lot of these old time guys didn't see the need for it. They never had it. If they were 25 or 30 years into their career at that point, and I've never needed that. And I'm sure I've said this before, but two things firefighters hate. And when we don't use hate as a light word, right? To truly say we hate something is a heavy concept, but change and the way things are. You might not like it the way it is, but you don't want it any other way.
If you're not willing to change, by the time that you are willing to change, you're going to be behind times 10 years. Change is constant. You got to change. I know firemen are the worst people in the world. They don't like change. But change is constant. You got to change. That's one thing mindset that I went in when I took this job was, let's look at change.
When I retired a few years later, I got bladder cancer. It was due to being a firefighter and not having the proper equipment on. It's more deadly after the fire is out because you're breathing all the chemicals and the smoke and the soot.
Things that we work with on a daily basis that may have lasting effects. It may not show up in a year, 2 years, 3 years, 25 years, but 30 years down the road, boom, you've got cancer. Could it be the lifestyle that you led, or could it have been the turnout gear that you were wearing, or that foam that you were training with on this particular day? 3 in 5 firefighters eventually at some point in time are going to get cancer. That's a scary thing to say. Welcome to the fire service. You're going to eventually get cancer. But it's something that we have to think about. It's something that we have to do as much as we possibly can to try to help prevent that from happening. But the likelihood of it happening, it's highly likely.
There's a cancer class out for firefighters. That's why you see them signs, no turnout gear, we're on this point. And that all come back to the cancer because all the carcinogens and stuff that gets in that gear and stuff. Because after we have a fire, we have to wash it.
There was a saying I saw this week is, are you on the job or are you into the job? And being into this job, you accept that stuff as just kind of your reality. And you hope for the best, but you prepare for the worst kind of thing. And I think most firefighters don't consider what that's going to be 10, 15 years from now. We just know what the job is at this moment that we have to do, and we accept the consequences. If it were to catch up with us later in life, then it catches up with us. And if not, we have a good job and a good career and move on to bigger things when our career's over.
Well, my wife asked me this one time. She said, "Why do you go out and do this? Why do you go out and do it?" I said, "Well, if it was one of your family members, wouldn't you want me to bring them home?" And that's solace that I get. You know, sail water rescue. I'm a diver. I was a rescue diver, and I used to dive down for bodies. And why do you do it? He needs to go home. I need to bring him home. I'm capable. I'm ready. I need to bring him home. And that's what I do. And I try to do it with dignity the best I can. And try to give the family some peace. Does it bother me? Yes, it does. I have a lot of sleepless nights. Like I said, I've been doing this ever since I was 13 years old. There come some wins and there come some losses. And the wins, to me, outweighs the losses.
It is truly one that you got to have passion for. You're putting your life on the line for somebody else and also your community. Like that scene, just looking over the city it's a great pride that we take in being able to be the ones that they call and need. When they call 911, they don't know who they're getting. So we need to make sure that we perform our best and we give them the best care that they possibly deserve.
Like I said before, best thing in the world is going in, rescuing somebody or going on an ambulance call and saving somebody. There's no other feeling like it. And, I didn't get in this business to be a millionaire. I didn't. I got in it to help people and help my community. And it's just something that I love doing. And I'm worried every time my guys go in and I'm sitting outside watching everything, trying to walk around that structure and see what's going on, see if I can read the smoke and see if I can basically see what's going on. But, I get worried sometimes, but actually worried about it. No, if it's the good Lord's will, if it's my time, I can't stop it. You can't stop it. Nobody can stop it. If he calls you home, he calls you home.
Courage is not the absence of fear, but it's your ability to perform your job in the presence of fear. Butterflies are good. Nervousness is good, but can you harness it and be able to take that work and use that fear to your advantage?
Yeah, there's danger. We know that from the time we sign up. But if we don't go do it, who's going to go help that person that may be trapped in that building? Not everybody's cut out for this job. It takes a special person to do what we do on a daily basis, to see and deal with what we see and deal with. It can affect you negatively. It can affect you positively. If you have a patient and they die, you're not going to feel good about that. If you have a patient and you resuscitate them and they live, and 2 weeks later they come up, shake your hand and hug you and tell you thank you, you cry of happiness. I've had that happen, and that's a great reward of this job.
With this position, you see death quite a bit, and it does affect you.
Firefighters and EMS personnel have ghosts. Early ghosts from early on in their career all the way to the time that they retire, and even after they retire, they still think about those ghosts.
Firefighters have to understand it's okay. It's okay to look for that help, because you can't carry all the baggage you're going to pick up in this career, especially if you have an active career, because you're going to deal with loss, and you're going to deal with death, and you're going to deal with dismemberment stuff, and you're going to have hard times in your career. And mentally, sometimes you just need to unload that onto someone, and it is perfectly okay to ask for that. Something we've tried to build here at Pikeville Fire Department is a culture where it's perfectly okay that if mentally you're having problems, if you were having physical problems, we're going to get you to a doctor, we're going to get you into rehab, we're going to put you in the weight room. Well, you can have the same kind of problems mentally, and you need to know it's okay to ask for that help to deal with coping with some of the stuff you're going to deal with in your career.
He was my dad. He took care of us, and he went to work for the fire department. I don't remember what year, maybe 62 or 3, and he loved it. It was work. He worked at many different jobs while I was growing up. So this job was just another job. I didn't think about it at the time of being dangerous. But I was glad he got it, and I know he liked it. He liked the excitement of it. He liked helping people. He liked the people he worked with. And just one of them things is right down his alley. He was on duty in the evening. They had a fire on what was called Smith Hill in Pikeville. And at that time, if the fire call came in, you were by yourself on the shift, you grabbed the truck and drove to the scene. And you began to assess it and try to put the fire out till you got help. And there was a police officer named Freddie Rutherford. His brother was Wayne T. Rutherford. And Freddie was a policeman, and he responded with my dad, somewhere close to the same time frame. When Dad got able to tell us what happened, he said that when he got there, the fire was downstairs. He kicked in the door, took the hose through the door, still waiting on people to get there. From the station to where he went was only about 3 or 4 minute drive or less. So he said he knocked the fire down the first time, stepped back outside, and just in a few minutes it caught back, and he stepped back in the second time and knocked it out with a hose, and stepped back outside because they didn't have all these fancy breathing apparatuses that they have today. He went back in the third time to check on it because it had done caught back once, and when he stepped through the door it exploded, and it burned up 2/3 of his lungs. And I think Freddie Rutherford put him in the police car and took him straight, which at that time was up on the hill, to the old hospital. He took him into the emergency room there. The other firemen got there, and they went ahead and secured the scene, put the fire out. And I really didn't know much more about it other than that, except he died in the emergency room, and they brought him back to, and he spent 6 or 8 weeks in what's an old-time oxygen tent because he couldn't breathe. I'm sure it damaged his heart, but it burned up 2/3 of his lung capacity. He overcome the hospital visit and he was told he was totally disabled, and he lived till December the 15th, 1970 when he died as a result of the injuries from the fire. It was sometime later, when I became an arson investigator, I was talking to Charles T., and he told me that that fire was an arson fire, and that they suspected, not being proven, there was nobody that made an investigation on it because there wasn't any local arson investigators, and the ones that would have come out of Frankfort. But he said the gas lines were on, and somebody had disconnected one of the joints to let the gas out in the house. Even at that, you had to have an ignition source. So I found that out later after I became an arson investigator. The fellow that set the house on fire that actually killed my dad, I never got an opportunity because it was 7 or 8 years later. Even though in Kentucky there's no statute of limitations, the evidence, the building, all the information that I would have needed to do an investigation was not available. But I got after everybody else I could.
Do you ever just sit around like days like today and just think about that man that set that fire?
No, you can't do that. I did at some point in time for a little while, but you do what you can do, and you're not superhuman. And when you lose a loved one, you realize you're just a very insignificant part of this world. So to let that tear you down mentally is just not smart. Some of the firemen got to thinking about it and thinking about who who was being honored and who wasn't in the firefighter division. Dad was actually the only one that was injured in a fire and died in the line of duty.
To get James McKenzie added to that state memorial was a long process. From the time of his passing and some of the paperwork that was required, it just didn't exist when that happened. So being able to justify and validate and honor him posthumously in his death and to finally get that accomplished for his son Barry and the rest of his wife and his daughter and everyone else's was an awesome honor. And to be able to be there with his son and his family and honor them, and for them to be able to take pictures with that memorial wall with their dad and to see the honors that are now given to him, I have no other adjective but awesome to explain, to describe that scenario.
The firemen were down there from Pikeville and treated us like royalty. They were as sharp, if not the sharpest group there, in my opinion. And they just couldn't do enough for us. And it was just an awesome feeling. And I thought well deserved. I thought it should have been done before that, but I'm just glad it was done.
Do you think he would be proud of you?
I certainly think he'd be proud of me. He was proud of me when I went to the state police, and it never changed.
He was a firefighter when I met him. I knew he does what he loves. I would never want him to have a job that he didn't get to do what he loved to do. And I love what I do, so we just have to make it work. And so we do. We have one little boy. His name's Caden. We're very busy. He's in lots of sports, baseball, football, basketball. It's hard sometimes because our schedules, we work around each other. I'm a nurse at the ER, so he works 24, and I usually work the days in between. So Caden's usually got one of us. Rarely does he have both of us there.
So I met Brandon for the first time in 2002 when my dad was still employed with the fire department. He's just a very outgoing, just funny, but a big teddy bear. He can be, you know, the serious Brandon at work, and then he comes home like yesterday. He brought me flowers just for no reason, because I had worked around the house all day, and he said that he just wanted to bring me flowers for, you know, no reason at all. So he's a sweetie when it comes to stuff like that. But Brandon is he's really a one-of-a-kind person.
I actually used to work in the emergency room at Pikeville Medical Center, and I got to know Packy through there, as he was a paramedic for MedFlight and also a firefighter EMT for the city fire department. And a few years later, I'd started working for the city. Him and I both went through a divorce, and we had become friends, and one thing led to another. So here we are.
We have this rule that anytime a structure fire, anything big, any kind of threat, he always texts me and lets me know. So that way I don't find it out on Facebook. I don't find it out from, you know, another friend or a relative or whatever. And the second he gets done and is able to get to his phone, he texts me, even if it's one letter, just to let me know he's okay.
Anytime Johnny leaves the house on an off page or a call or I hang up on the phone, we always tell each other we love each other, even if we're mad. And normal, like everybody has those days they're mad. And it could be something, most of the time our arguments are about food, what we're gonna eat, and it always comes back, it's always my choice. Most of the time that's our arguments, but we always tell each other we love each other, regardless. Because in reality, no matter what you do, like I might be driving to work and not come home. His is, if he's going on a call and he's going in a fire, there's always a chance he won't come home. And it's hard, like anxiety and emotions sometimes get the best of us, and sometimes I have to be talked down. And he knows that, and he does really good to call when he's done with those calls before he gets everything cleaned up to say, I'm okay. And so I just have to pray that it'll always be like that.
So whenever they do have a big structure fire, there's 4 or 5 guys that my husband depend on, as well as they depend on him to make sure that he comes home at night. So it's very scary.
Every day is different because you never know where he's going to be, what he's going to be doing, what's going to happen that day. So yeah, there's a lot of worry every day when he leaves to go to work, and even when, you know, he leaves home because he gets called out. I mean, we never know what's going to happen or where he's at or what he's doing. We try to talk about, you know, what he experiences that's, you know, something that he has trouble with, dealing with. We try to talk about it, and I try to help him as much as I can, but there's also, you know, some things that they just don't want to relive, that they just don't want to talk about it, just don't want to relive that situation that they went through.
You know, we do 24-hour shifts is what he pulls at the firehouse. When he's not home, I don't sleep well. And if he gets called out, it's a constant worry. You worry, you know, what he's doing, if he's gonna, you know, it's a bad fire, making sure he's gonna make it home. And there's all pages where they have to clean up storms and stuff. And it's just hard. You worry a lot.
He loves his job. I've never seen anybody ever love being a fireman more than Brandon does. That's all he's ever wanted to do. And he actually started out dispatching for the city. He dispatched for 3 or 4 years before he transferred. The second he was able to transfer and they had an opening, he switched right away. But yeah, it makes me extremely proud. And of course, when he got promoted to lieutenant, that was something that, you know, he had always dreamed of, you know, being able to climb the ladder. So that was all a big moment for everybody.
When me and him got together, he was a lieutenant, and I've got to see him go from being battalion chief to a fire chief. I mean, it's been hard, but I've been there behind him, backing him 100% on, you know, making his career be, you know, a dream come true, because him being the fire chief is what he has dreamed of being since he was a little boy. So to actually say, you know, your childhood dream came true, I mean, that's just wonderful to actually see somebody live that.
On our off days, we like to be outside. We like to be doing things. We rarely have days where we're just sitting at home doing nothing. Since we don't get those off days very often, we like to take a trip. Most of the time we let Caden choose. Sometimes we'll choose. He likes to go anywhere, really. Like, we go to a movie theater. He just likes to be out doing something. One of our favorite things to do, we love to ride bikes around town when it's pretty out during the summer, and we just stay busy.
We love to backpack. We started backpacking about 2 years ago when COVID hit. We had to find some other stuff to do because we used to cruise 2 times a year. Every year, we love going on cruises. So the corona kind of made us, we had to shift our activities around a little bit. So we enjoy backpacking. He loves to fish. He could, everywhere we go, he takes a fishing pole just in case there might be a hole of water somewhere that has a fish in it. We just got a German Shepherd. So he likes to go outside and, you know, train with her a lot and do some stuff with her. We took her backpacking for the first time 3 months ago. We went on a 32-mile hike. So that was an adventure, but being with Brandon is never a dull moment, and there's never a quiet moment. He can talk.
I don't ever truly get away from work, but I wouldn't have it any other way. This isn't work to me. I don't come here to put the shirt on and get a paycheck. This is my lifestyle. This is, you know, this is the way I live my life. I'm always something involved in the fire department, and I wouldn't change it for the world. So to get away from work, I like to be unplugged and away, to get some time away so my wife doesn't kill me, for one, because all I talk about is work, but she knows how this line of work is and what her life is. Her father was a retired firefighter from here, so she's been in the fire service longer than I have. I tell everybody that. So she understands that, but for us to get truly away, we like to be out and away, and we travel extensively through the Caribbean and South America and Central America. So when I get away, I'm completely unattached, but when I'm here, my life is work, and that's around the clock. So.
My dad retired from the city of Pikeville. He was a captain fire marshal for the city of Pikeville. He started in 1983. I've always watched him do his career, going on live scenes with him, whether it be house fires or car wrecks, or always watching it from the background and just watching him as he promoted up through the department, and seeing him go out on these actual fire calls made me want to do the same thing that he did.
I knew he was going to be a firefighter growing up. He would always tag along and want to get in and fight fires when he was little, and just, you know, he hung around the station with all the guys. He liked getting in the trucks, like picking up the hoses and also squirting water, and he just knew everybody grew up with him, and that was always one of his goals. No matter what he did in life, he always wanted to be a firefighter. It's just like his son now. He was always putting my gear on, but sports was everything. You know, he played basketball and baseball, but his whole love was always coming by the fire station every day.
It started out with my papa. My papa was the one that kind of led me into it. He never really pushed for it, but he was always involved in it. And every now and again, I would show up with him, or I would be involved anywhere in the department, whether it was just going to the station or seeing some training or maybe driving by a scene. But he was one of the big influences for me to be a part of it.
My dad is a coal miner by trade, actually, but he did the National Guard for 17 years. He was also part of a volunteer ambulance service in Elkhorn City that started up in the late 80s, early 90s. He was an EMT there, and he did that in his free time, and it was totally volunteer, so he didn't get paid for it or anything, and they would take calls and go on EMS calls and do that stuff, and he did that for probably about 7 or 8 years until we moved out of the area when I was younger, and he loved it. He loved the camaraderie and the fellowship, and then helping the community and doing anything he can, so it kind of runs in my blood and in my family as well.
I became a volunteer at Pikeville because my dad was the fire marshal here, and I've been around it for about 17 years. Since I was little, I'd always come over here and hang out with the guys and feel like they're my second family, and I just feel like I just needed to come over here and be with them. I'd like to make my dad proud, just trying to follow in his footsteps and try to be the best I can at this job, because it's life or death, and you gotta train every day, and I like to follow behind my dad and one day try to become a fire marshal like he did.
Ready or not, here I come.
All right, come on, go find mom.
She's like Daddy's little girl, my 6-year-old. So sometimes she gets tore up when Daddy has to go to work and doesn't get to come home. So the other morning when I went to work at the ER, I was home all day Monday, and then Tuesday I had to go work at the hospital, and she got to spend time with me all day Monday. So she was tore up when I left to go to work. So she was kind of mad at me for going, but she gets over it pretty fast. So. I've got 3 kids, so I've got a 14-year-old, a 9-year-old, and a 6-year-old. So when I go home, I try to spend time with my family. I try to take my dad fishing at least once a week. He's kind of elderly and kind of sick. He's got COPD and stuff. So I try to take him fishing once a week and make sure that I get to spend some time with him, because I don't know how much longer I'll have him in my life. And then I try to spend time with my little girl as much as I can. So my 14-year-old, I don't realize I was in the military with her because I was doing the Army Reserve thing at the time when she was the age that my 6-year-old is now, and I didn't realize how much stuff that I had missed with her that I get to spend with my 6-year-old now. So I'm kind of trying to make up for that lost time and make those connections that I didn't have then. So.
You can sit on my legs. Nope, maybe. I love you.
This is my oldest daughter. Her name is Cassie. She's a freshman now at Georgetown University in Georgetown, Kentucky. She got a scholarship. She got her smarts from me, I guess. This is my middle daughter, Abby. She's a freshman in high school at Western Hills High School in Frankfort, Kentucky. She's actually in this weekend. She come in. She's actually at my mom's right now, but she come in. Hopefully we'll get to spend the weekend with her. And then my youngest daughter, she's on my shoulders, and I guess she's daddy's girl, I guess, as you can say it. She tells everybody she's gonna be a fireman like daddy, so trying to tell her not to. But, you know, it is what it is. She can be whatever she wants to. If she wants to chase her dreams of being an astronaut, chase them dreams of being an astronaut, baby. There's nothing wrong with that.
My name is Sawyer Bentley and my dad's Packy Bentley. When I was 3 or 4, that's when I realized I wanted to be a firefighter like Daddy. I want to be a firefighter when I grow up because I think it's cool. When Daddy goes to work, it makes me feel scared sometimes and I miss him. When Daddy goes on the call, when he's at home, I tell him to turn on his light because I like to see him when he pulls out.
So your dad's chief at the Pikeville Fire Department. How does that make you feel?
I'm proud of my dad.
Tell me, what's it like being the daughter of a firefighter?
It's a little hectic sometimes, but it's good. You have a hero as your dad, so it's hard, but it's good. It's a good kind of hard. You know, he walks out that door every day, and you never know if he's going to come back, or if he does, how he's going to come back. But it's good because, we're a small community, so he's going out and he's helping people you know, people you don't know, people you're going to get to know, So it's been good, but it can be hard. Whenever I was growing up, I can remember in 1st grade, it was so cool because my dad brought the fire truck to the school, and my dad handed out all the little fire hats to everybody. And throughout, school, he's helped get donations for sporting events to, braces, and when a kid fell or got hurt, he was first one on the scene to make sure that it was taken care of and it wasn't going to get injured any further. Yeah, I've just always had the hero at home and never really had to worry about the hero outside of home.
My life being married to a fireman, it's one of those things, you can't plan anything. I mean, you can plan it and you can head to do it, but if there's a call, it's going to intervene. It's going to take over anything that we was planning to do, whether it be a wedding, a birthday party, or a simple outing, out to eat or out to Walmart to shop, It's off, we're going to the firehouse,
I know there's been times that my mom's really big on celebrating our birthday on our birthday, and we have to, alter that a little bit and work around Dad's schedule. It has gotten a little bit easier throughout the years because now we know how to adjust a little bit better, but it was a little bit harder with the 24-hour shifts growing up. Mom and Dad were both gone a lot when I was young. Mom was pulling 16-hour shifts and Dad was pulling 24-hour shifts, so it was a lot of time with my grandparents. But it was a lot of time with them that I'm really glad that I have. Like, it's okay that they're late sometimes because they're helping somebody.
My life would be a little boring without him being a fireman, honestly. There's bad, there's good, but there's more good than bad, thank God. You never want to see them go out on this stuff, but they do. And like I said, it is very worrisome. But it's him. It's Chiefy.
Although you are working 24 hours, that 2 days off kind of brings it down to where you're putting a lot of hours in, but the schedule isn't really bad for you because you're getting that time off. 2 days off is really kind of your recuperation days for the day or for the 24 hours that you are here.
You're good, come on. Good work. What you think of that one?
It was, let's say, easier than the Pittsburgh grill, but, it was a good one.
All right, cool.
With the schedule being 24 on and 48 off, it allows me to, if I need to pick up overtime to make ends meet, I can work overtime on those days. I can pick up another job. I can, run errands and take care of my family if need be on those days if there's anything going on. So it frees me up quite a bit to do things on my days off. So no, I don't mind it a bit. I actually like that schedule. So
no matter what's going on, if those tones drop or the pager goes off and it's a structure fire or it's an all call saying somebody needs help, then that's where your head's at. If I were just to sit there, or any of the guys may just to sit there at the house, what time that that call went out, and somebody else is putting that gear on and possibly fighting that fire or needing somebody to bring them water, something as simple as bringing them a bottle of water, is pulling a lever on a fire truck to get them some water, pulling another line, or grabbing an axe or a chainsaw to cut a hole so that they can see and be able to work better. What if when my brothers or sister goes down, if I wasn't there, or if I was there, could I possibly be able to get to them to get them out of there? That way when they go home, they can go back home to their families at the end of that call.
How many miles you walked in a day, would you say?
It depends on what's been on our minds. It's been a bad week or something, we just walk and talk.
Yeah.
Brotherhood is very, very special. A lot of times we laugh and cut up with each other. Sometimes you can take it too far, sometimes you can't. It's just one of those things that you got to learn your partner that you have. You have different people throughout this job, whether it be new or old. Everybody interacts a different way, and it's just trying to find out these new members, what they like, what they don't like, how to relate everything, their training methods with them, and also just being able to speak to them. Everybody's totally different, so we need to make sure that when we speak to these members that we show them respect. We try to learn what they know, and hopefully they can teach us something like we can teach them. Whether it be a video game that they're playing and just trying to figure out what that game is, and then maybe we can pass something on, the old traditions that's been instilled in us, the priding ourselves on appearance and priding ourselves on our trainers and being very aggressive. We're a very aggressive department. A lot of people doesn't see the behind the scenes shots, and these new members, they see a lot of TV shows, and so they base what they know from Chicago Fire and Rescue Me and all those types of shows. And realistically, when you do this job, it's never ending. You never stop learning, you never stop caring.
These guys know that I would lay my life down for them, and I have the same expectation of them. I spend a third of my life with these people. I make no difference in my work family, my home family. These guys know at 2 o'clock in the morning if they need anything, all they have to do is call me. And I'm on the road moving, coming to them. That's how tight our brotherhood is here. I know I've heard you all mention talking about the brotherhood, but to really be a part of it, we could sit here and recount tales all day of where that brotherhood has come into play, whether it's been taking up money to send somebody across the country to see a sick parent, or at 2 o'clock in the morning and somebody's water line bursts at their house and you're coming out to help stop a water leak. But to truly be a part of that is to appreciate it. I can sit here and tell you stories all day of how that's been evident, but I make no difference in my home family and my work family.
I mean, honestly, I'll dread the day when I do retire. I'm gonna miss the guys, miss the people. Because like I said, I've been here at the city now 20 plus years. The city's been good to me, been wonderful for me. I ain't got a bad word to say about the city, you know. So, you know, it's the guys that I'm gonna miss. You know, sometimes they might not like me, you know, but you know, we're family. All families have problems, all families have arguments. But when the day is in, you know, they know they can count on me and I can count on them.
It's like a brotherhood here. It's like a family. We're here every third day, every week, you know. We're with these people, so it is like a family, you know. It's our other family, so we get really close, cook together, clean together, take calls together. You know, every moment of that 24-hour shift is spent with your brother. That's the best part of the job too, besides helping people, is getting to spend, you know, time with each other, and while we're together, you know, it's a great time. It really is. I mean, it makes the time fly, because even when we're training, it doesn't seem like a task. You know, we're having fun, but we're also getting some training in and getting our goals done.
Working with these guys, it's great. You develop a real good camaraderie with the guys you work with on a daily basis. I've worked with most of these guys for 10 years, some of these guys for 3, 4, 5 years, even the new guys. I mean, we joke, we cut up, we treat each other like brothers. We give each other a hard time sometimes, but it's all in fun and love, and we all care about each other like they're my brothers.
You build bonds with the people that you work with and you fight right beside of. I say fight. I mean, you never know what we're going to be doing, but you're right there with them. 24 hours, 10 days a month, working out to 120 days a year. I mean, you're with these people, your brothers and sisters in the fire service, you're with them more than you're with your own family at home.
A lot of these guys, you become close with them, especially because you really got to have their trust and they got to have yours, because, you know, in a lot of times when you're in a life or death situation, or sometimes you get in these tight scenarios where you know you want to have someone that's going to have your back and they want the same thing. So you become close with them, but you also develop a good personal relationship with them as well, outside of just work.
Yeah. Oh, he got him. Nope. Nope.
Let's stay in the bag. Kyle, you're winning. Kyle, get back. Hurry. Kyle.
I'm gonna run with him. Oh.
I want to try to trip Kyle.
He cheated.
I want to try to trip you.
There's a bunch of funny guys on this crew, actually. They're funny in their own ways. See, my best friend, he's real quiet, hardly will ever speak, but he gives the best one-liners ever. Me, I tend to be a little bit goofy at times. That's just my nature. You got a bunch of them on this department that's real funny, but when time comes to be serious, we're locked in, ready to go.
So growing up, seeing my dad and all the guys, a lot of the old timers that we call them, these fire breathers and smoke eaters and stuff like that, they would have softball games on the weekends, or they would watch NASCAR when it was really big at somebody's house and cook out, and they would always be there for them. They could tell you everybody's children, what they liked, what they didn't like, and so we're trying to instill all that with these new guys, because brotherhood is very important to this job. You got to know that somebody has your bag once you go into those doors to a house fire or open the doors on the ambulance to get inside, that you know that somebody's going to take care of you.
I still have that calling on my life to help people. Having that brotherhood just makes it that much more easy, but if you didn't have the brotherhood as good as we have it here, it would definitely make the job a lot harder, which is not a good thing, because we, like I said, we usually see people on their worst days or their worst situation. But just knowing we do have that brotherhood, it makes this job a lot easier. And I don't consider this a job. I don't consider it a career. I enjoy what I do. I get to come in to work, get to ride these big trucks, this ambulance, and I get to help people. I don't look at it as a job or career.
Everyone at the fire department is like family, even the spouses. I mean, we all get along great. We're all there for each other, and it's just great knowing that if you need someone to talk to, you can go to anyone there.
Most of your older ones are a little bit closer just because we do picnics and get-togethers, and families go to the movies together and pumpkin patches. COVID's hard, so we've not been able to do a lot of our normal events that we get to do, but hopefully we get back to that soon.
And the wives are actually really good. If the guys go through something awful, the wives will kind of get together and be like, hey, maybe we should all get together and go out for a night of bowling or something like that, just to kind of get everybody's spirits out of it and get their minds off of it a little bit. But everybody's really good about supporting everybody.
I said earlier, it doesn't matter about the title on your shirt. It's taking care of the person upside of you. No matter what role, no matter what circumstances, who cares? Just pick up a tool or grab somebody's hand and take off. It's just what you gotta do, take care of each other. That's what this job's about, is the brotherhood of taking care of each other and possibly helping somebody down the road.
This is unique for me because for more than 20 years I did news. And the last 10 of it, I did video news. So I was out with these guys in the field and I've watched them respond to these. I've been on the airboat with these guys, but I've always been there with a camera to document what they do. And it wasn't until November 13th of 2021 that I realized what it's like to be a patient. That morning, November 13th, 2021, was the hospital's annual Colors of Courage 5K. So I was with the guys who were on duty that weekend, that morning. So we finished up about noon. I said, see you all, like I always have. And then it was 2:30 that afternoon, I decided to go hunting. I'm an avid bow hunter and have for years. And I'm so thankful that that afternoon I made the decision to hunt right here in Pikeville, because that probably saved my life. One of the places that I hunt is private property right here in the Pikeville city limits, and I've done that for years. And I had hunted that stand, that particular tree, probably 5 or 6 times already this season. So I got in it and got up to about 25 feet where there's a strap on the tree where I connect a harness onto that's supposed to protect you, but I fell just short of that. And the last thing I remember seeing was when the chain broke on that stand, it flying across the tree, and it dropped out. And I tried to grab onto the top part of the stand. It failed also. So I fell about 25 feet. And I smile about it now, but there's nothing to laugh about because I had some really serious injuries. I don't remember landing. it knocked me out. I was unconscious for the best we can tell about 10 minutes. I landed wedged between a large rock and a tree. So, I mean, it's 1,000 wonders that I didn't have any more serious injuries than I did. Textbook and doctors will tell you in that scenario, I probably shouldn't have lived. You don't need to go into the woods alone, and rarely do I do that. So I had somebody who was about 100 yards down the hill in another tree stand. So I was able to contact her. According to her, I didn't know where I was. I didn't know what had happened. I just knew I was laying on the ground and my feet were tangled in a tree stand. And she came to me, and we knew at that point we were going to have to call 911. It was just minutes, very few minutes, until I heard the sirens. I mean, again, I'm so thankful that I was in Pikeville when I had my accident, because could I have easily been someplace very rural where there wasn't a paid fire department, or there, you know, who are you going to rely on when you dial 911? How long are you going to have to wait before they get there? But you don't have to worry about that in the city. I've been with these guys on so many occasions when I've watched them work, but this time they worked on me. And I expected it to be wonderful, but they took all the worry away. Pikeville made the decision, the trauma surgeons made the decision to send me to the University of Kentucky. There's a orthopedic surgeon there, Dr. Wright, who is known for his work on pelvic fractures. Dr. Wright was able to do surgery on me, and so I have a metal plate in the front of my pelvic ring that's holding it together, and then there's a 3.5-inch screw through my left hip into my sacrum. It wasn't as bad as it could have been. Within 3 days, I was discharged from the hospital. I was able to go home on crutches. I definitely know that it would have been a different experience healing had I not gotten the care almost instantly. I mean, within 5 minutes, I think somebody was there to start the care for me. You can't get that when you're in other places. But those guys have been great to send me texts. So they were texting me, 2 or 3 of them, the whole time I was at UK. How are you? And one thing that impressed me is once they brought me in their ambulance to the hospital, I was in the emergency room for quite a while before the transport to Lexington. And I had been there probably an hour, and I looked up, and Mitch Case, the fireman who stuck with me the whole time, was still there. And he came in, he was beside the bed, and he said, "Is there anything else I can do for you before we go back to the fire station?" And that lets you know it's personal to them, that it's not a job. And they say, you know, if you love what you do, then it's never really a job. And I think that's the case for all of our firemen at the Pikeville Fire Department. They truly love what they do, and you can tell it. They care about people. It's not just, I'm doing it so I can get paid. They're doing it because they feel called to do that, and you can tell. It's more than just a job. It's almost like a calling for them. You know, I know that I have said thank you, but I could say thank you for the rest of my life. And, you know, this is when it gets personal. It's when you have to look at people and say, you know, without you, I may not be here. And I've been on the other side of this camera, and I've gotten people to say that, but it's me this time. And it is emotional when you realize and you look back and you say, I shouldn't be here if it weren't for the response and the training and the expertise of these guys at the Pikeville Fire Department. You know, I could not be here, or I could very easily be not walking. There's so many things that could have gone so wrong had somebody touched me different, lifted me differently, not known because I had a back injury, because I had all of these issues and I fell. If somebody had not known exactly what to do to take care of that patient, I don't know where I would be right now.
Another service that we do is the fireworks. We shoot off fireworks for many different occasions. They are commercial grade fireworks. The setup is a little different rather than having a bottle rocket or small fireworks. We have a range of fireworks for 3, 4, 5, 6, 8-inch shells. These are mortar rounds. The way that we used to do it were dig holes with steel tubes, and they had to be individually dropped in the tubes and lit off. We have gotten a little better over the past couple years as far as the way that we do it. But the setup is we typically go a couple days beforehand, make sure that the site's good and clear, that way that we don't get up there and have to cut the grass, because it's used on an occasional basis. So we'll make sure that the site's good and clear. There's nothing that we need to address as far as trees that may have fallen. The majority of our shows now are electrically fired, so we set the mortar racks up with the availability of shooting multiple shots and wiring those up. We'll set the mortar rounds up, the racks, tie them all together. Once those are set and secured, then we will drop the mortar rounds actually in the tubes and have them ready to go. Once they're dropped in the mortar tubes, they have to be electrically charged or squibbed. We have to put an electric match on them and then run it over to our switch box. And then make sure that the power is turned off until it's showtime. We have those set up, as well as some of the racks we do still have to manually fire. So we'll set those up in different configurations, however best to fit the show. We have shooters that go through with road flares or fusees to be able to manually light each individual round that we may have to manually fire. We wear all of our personal protective equipment, because whenever people may be inside the park or watching a pyrotechnic show, they see the stuff that goes off up in the sky that it's really pretty and flares or pops and crackles or makes the smiley face, the American flag. They don't see what happens on the ground whenever it goes off. I'm not saying that I've ever been in war, but you have multiple mortar rounds going off by your head. So that's why we do as much as we possibly can as far as the safety side is concerned, making sure everybody's protected. In the event that something happens, the show stops. Whether people on the ground may like it or not, the show will stop, because people up on that hill are the most important thing. After it's all done, because in my 11 years here at the fire station, being an employee at the Pikeville Fire Department, 10 of those 11, I've been up on that hill. So if you happen to be on the fireworks crew, you don't ever see the Pikeville fireworks. People may talk about it and maybe show you videos afterwards, but you don't see them whenever you're up there. Your main concern is making sure that, again, you go home at the end of the shift or the end of the fireworks show, as well as the person standing next to you.
Another thing I get to do is I do fireworks. So I do all the college games, high school games, 4th, Hillary days. Kind of getting to blow things up a little bit, I guess. That's always a thrill, but you gotta be safe in that too, because you are dealing with explosives. And it's not high explosives, but it's stuff that you have to have an ATF license to even purchase. So yeah, it's fun. I mean, there's always a little bit of danger. I guess that makes it more of a enticing that you want to do it, is the little sense of danger. But Yeah, it's fun.
Remember the quarterback that bumped into the red?
Yeah, he couldn't spot the ball properly and allowed Dallas time to spike it. And so they lost 4 seconds and they lost the game.
Didn't he run into the red?
He ran into the center and then he ran into Dak twice before he spotted the ball.
Do you think the next play they would have won?
No.
I mean, they had a shot at the end zone.
No, there's no way. He's gonna hit a ball. But not everybody does stuff. Oh. Ooh. Go in. Uh-oh. Hey! Did you get that?
Yep.
Did you get that?
He's showing off for the camera.
If you could go back and do it all again, like still be a firefighter, would you?
Every day. I wish that I could do it the rest of my life, to be honest with you.
No, I'll never regret doing this kind of work. It's hard, but it's fulfilling. I know it's hard for some people to understand, but it's a hard job, but it's a very fulfilling job. I'll never regret.
Best summary that I can give to anybody, and anybody that's ever mentioned it, it's like nothing else. I promise there is nothing like being a firefighter. Being a firefighter is the best job in the world. There's no doubt about that.
It's our job to protect the community. It's part of what we do. As firemen, that's what we do. We help the community, we protect the community, we help people in any way we can. We love what we do, and we love that part of our job, and we love being around people, and we love helping, and that's why we do this. So.
You get to see people on the worst days of their life. You get to see people on their happiest days of their life. I mean, you may have delivered a child today, but you also may watch somebody's house burn down today, and you've done everything you could to save it and can't. You might watch a life end today or whatever. But yeah, even with the sad part of it, yeah, it is. It's definitely the most rewarding job out there is, and I don't have any regrets at all about it. I wish I'd have stayed longer. That's one thing I wish I'd have done, is just stay longer. You still miss it. My wife will tell you, I say all the time, it's one of the most fun, saddest, most rewarding, happiest, and worst and best days of your life. That happens at the firehouse.
This has always been my goal, is to wear this PFD on my chest. I've never had any inclination to want to work anywhere else. And I have a lot of buddies and a lot of friends that are firefighters a lot of other places, in big towns, small towns, what have you, but there's no better fit for me personally than what this department is.
We have so many different personalities put in together. You have no clue who's going to be showing up one day to the next, but we make this thing work because we have to. Whenever we come to work, it's time to go to work. No matter what, whatever happened the day before or the day after, it's time to go to work.
Is there anything we didn't ask you that you just want to talk about? Anything at all? Call people names?
No.
Call us names?
No. Just food. I like to eat.
And what about him first made you notice him?
He was cute.
Do you remember your first day on the job as a firefighter?
Actually, I don't.
I know Mitch said he could remember the first day and like it was yesterday.
Well, Mitch ain't got quite as many years on you either.
Who's the best cook here?
I would say it's between Packy and Kenny. Maybe Roger, where's it Roger? Roger's really close too. Where'd he go? He disappeared. Yeah, Roger King, you'll be interviewing him for too long. He's a pretty good little cook too. Need to come back on a day that we have a big cookout.
I got to sneeze, hang on. I'm good.
I do have a nickname, but I'm not going to share that because it's not really appropriate. So,
Yeah, Spock, because you can probably see that one. He's had Cubby early on, but Cubby came from Nick wanting to make up his own nickname. Did he tell you that? Okay, all right. No, I can't say mine because it probably would lead to why I was nicknamed that. I can say mine for Big Creek, but not here.
I'm a talker, so just anytime you come up with something, I'm okay. Just whenever.
What's your favorite food?
As bad as I hate to admit it, probably something Italian or pizza, something carbohydrate, I'm sure.
Good. Tell me a funny story about Daddy.
Don't say Daddy likes to fart.
Oh yeah. So he's the dad that will watch the TikTok videos during anything that's going on really, and it can never be on the lowest volume. It has to be the highest dad volume is what I call it, and it is a little bit obnoxious, but he thinks it's cool, so we just kind of roll with it. But it's all the fireman videos, it's all the nonsense of social media, but he turns it in to some of the funniest jokes.
I was working over on another shift. I was battalion chief, and one of the battalion chief's office, so I stayed over and worked. And me and Matt Stevens, he was a fireman at that time, he's a lieutenant. He decided, hey, let's go Buffalo Wild Wings, get us some wings. So we got some wings, and we went down there and got them, brought them back to the station, and I was explaining to him how Kenny, the fire marshal, how he eats his wings.
He's like, this is how Kenny does it. And he sticks it in his mouth, and he rakes it all off, and the bone breaks. But he's so deep in that he gets choked on it.
And I'm telling you, I was seeing the light. I was seeing the stars. I mean, I was going out. I mean, I had all classic signs of choking, and Matt sitting over there laughing wouldn't even help me.
And he's not even wheezing, like where he's not getting even breath. And then all of a sudden, it comes up, and then the cussing begins. And he just starts cussing me.
I mean, he was sitting there laughing. He wouldn't help me. I mean, I was actually, eyes rolling back in my head and getting ready to go out.
And he denies it, but he had his, down to his knuckles in his mouth, eating this wing. But he deserved it.